Welcome to Working Class Hollywood. You might not recognize his voice. That's because it's not Jeremiah Smith. Today I am his guest host, Lyndsey Burr. And the guest of honor today is Jeremiah Smith.
Hi.
Was that good?
Yeah, no, that was great. That was great. Do you feel good about this?
I do. I feel good about the interviewing part. The welcome to the podcast part is why you have the podcast.
I kind of sprung that on you last minute. Welcome to Working Class Hollywood. Conversations with people that make the movies, TV shows, and entertainment you love. If you're looking to break into or move up in the entertainment industry, or you're just a fan of content and want to hear about how it's made, this is the podcast for you. I'm your host,
Lyndsey Burr.
So Lyndsey and I work together. We worked together for the last year, it's been a year now. Pretty closely. We did the Bravo show Unanchored together, which maybe nobody listening saw because it didn't seem like people watched that show.
Although you should have.
Yeah, it was good. And then Lyndsey also joined us for this last season of Vanderpump Rules. So Lyndsey was listening to the podcast, and she texted me and said, Jeremiah, I want to go on your podcast, but I want to interview you. I don't know why. Why did you want to interview me?
So I listen to a lot of crime podcasts, and I never listened to these how to do podcasts. And obviously Jeremiah is a good friend, and I wanted to listen out of friendship. And then I thought, oh my God, as I was listening, this is a great idea. I wish there was something like this when I was getting my start. As I was listening, what I wanted to do, and obviously a lot of people, and since you've had this podcast, I've listened to them, most of them. I want to know about the interviewee and how he got his start.
You're flipping the script on me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, if you're going to be asking advice, obviously you have your own path, how you got here as well. And that kept coming up to mind, knowing you for this past year and not really asking you these questions, and then listening to your podcast and getting tidbits of it really made me feel like you deserved your own episode of how you've made your way through Hollywood.
I mean, that now I'm blushing and I'm getting self-conscious. I got to talk about myself.
Well, now, I've got a notebook.
I know she does. She has notebooks with a bunch of pages of notes on them.
Yeah.
She's been preparing for this.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So I'm turning the reins
I've got questions
of Working Class Hollywood over to Lyndsey. Take it away, Lyndsey.
Well, I've learned from you. You've got a nice format and how you do this. So I'm going to start with your format. Your go-to first question is where did you come from and how did you get here?
So I grew up in San Diego, and I went to UCLA. That's the short version. The longer version is that I went to community college for 2 years in San Diego, out of high school, and then transferred in because I never would have gotten into UCLA out of high school. I didn't have great grades or community service or whatever colleges look for people. So I was always attracted to LA though, because, from the time I think I was 18 or 19, one of my good friends moved here to go to Occidental College. Actually, Joe Chandler, the guy that I did my first podcast guest, Joe, he came to Oxy, and I started coming up and visiting him. And then I actually started taking Groundlings classes. I was big into comedy. So I thought that I was going to be on Saturday Night Live or something. And so I found the Groundlings, and I would drive up on Friday night. I'd sleep on my friend Joe's dorm room floor, and then I'd go to Groundlings classes on Saturdays. And then I'd go home usually Saturday afternoon. So that was kind of my first foray. And then when I started looking at where I wanted to transfer to, I just was I wanted to be in LA. I always thought it was this big city just north of San Diego where people were doing stuff and making things happen, and that's where entertainment was. And I don't know, I ended up at UCLA, and that's how I got here.
So did you always know you wanted to be in the entertainment business?
Well, sort of, but I didn't know that it existed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I heard that one podcast where you're I thought there were 4 jobs growing up.
Right. So I loved comedy. I was in a sketch comedy group in San Diego, and we like put on shows and stuff. I loved TV and movies. Like I've had a subscription to Entertainment Weekly since I was like 12 years old. But it just never occurred to me that like, oh, that's like a profession, like in an industry that people can work in. So even when I transferred to LA, I just wanted to go to LA, and I thought, it'd be fun and exciting and I'd be able to go see comedy shows or whatever. But I had this like fate encounter one day that kind of like, I think is like the one moment that like just really changed my life and, ultimately led me to here. Do you want to hear the story?
Of course I want to hear the story. Don't leave me hanging.
So I was 20 years old. I was about to transfer to UCLA, and I worked at this restaurant in San Diego called BJ's. If you know it, it's still,
yeah, they have a good minestrone.
They have a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
I still eat there. It's like one of my family's favorite.
The Burbank one?
Yeah, the Burbank one. It's like our favorite restaurant. We go get Pazookies.
I went there when I was 20, and I handed them a fake ID, but it wasn't the right fake ID, so I had to get a soda. I was also on a date. Sorry.
You got called out for your fake ID on a date?
Yeah, it wasn't.
So
and I think it was actually like my real ID. I didn't have my fake ID, so I couldn't. Yeah.
Oh, you accidentally pulled out the real one instead of the fake one?
Yeah, sorry. I digressed. Yes, but BJ's is awesome.
So I was like a server at the BJ's in La Mesa at Grossmont Center. I think it's still there. And I was like trying to transfer up to the BJ's in Westwood, which is right in the Village, right near UCLA. So I'd come up to visit. I had a friend at UCLA. I was staying with him, and I went to meet with the manager at BJ's. And I had like an interview, and he's like, yeah, we should be able to put you on the schedule, whatever. And outside on the street there, they were setting up for a movie premiere. And
at that theater.
Yeah,
right?
there's two theaters where they do a ton of red carpets and stuff. It's like the Fox and the Bruin right on Broxton Avenue in Westwood. And so there was like, the red carpet and the step and repeat. There was like all the press people, the spotlights, the whole thing. And the movie that they were premiering was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, which is like a Kevin Smith movie.
Yep.
So I'm like 20, like just about to move to LA. And so I'm like, wow, this is the coolest thing ever. So I was like, I'm just going to hang around and see if I like see some famous people. So I was standing on the sidewalk, and this guy walked up to me out of the press pen where all the reporters were. And he comes right up to me and he goes, hey, you want to take over my job for the night? And
No way.
I was like, yes. What do you do? He's like, come on. So he like brought me in. He goes, this is your cameraman, Pat. I got to go to another event. Just so as the celebrities start coming down the red carpet, just ask questions. Most of their answers are canned anyway. So just get them talking about the movie. You'll do fine. Got to go. Boom. And he left me there. He was an entertainment producer for KTLA News, KTLA Channel 5. The LA like
Wait,
local.
this really happened.
This really happened. Like I'm not exaggerating or embellishing.
You were
a
kid standing on the street watching.
Yeah.
And some professional news reporter was like, "Hey."
Yep. Because I think that he was not excited to be at this event.
Not as excited
it's just,
as you.
Like Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. It's not like a huge movie.
Yeah.
And he had some other event across town that had like bigger celebs or something. So I think he wanted to go cover that, but then like still get some footage or whatever for this movie premiere. So yeah, he just called me out, like just pointed his finger, pulled me in, and I stayed and I like interviewed people coming down the red carpet. Like I interviewed Will Ferrell and Jason Biggs and Ben Stiller and like all these, and I was like losing my mind. Like this is the greatest night of my life.
What about that camera operator? Was he like was he old and salty?
No,
like
he was great. So at the end of it, the camera operator, Pat, I still remember his name. He was like, hey kid, you did a good job. Like, here's my card. You should reach out to me or call the station or something. Maybe you could get a job or something. I was like, all right, cool. So like that, I went back to my friend's dorm room and I called my parents and I told them to record the KTLA news because I was going to be on the news. And we like watched it the next day on VHS. I'm like, that's me. Like, I wasn't like on it, like on camera, but I was like asking the questions. And so then I reached out to KTLA. And I found my way to like their human resources department. And I was like, hey, I did one of your movie premieres and the footage was on TV. I want to come work at the station. And they were like, well, we don't have any jobs for 20-year-olds.
They were also like, give me that reporter's name.
Well, come to find out, that guy was like a total like degenerate. Like he like didn't have a license because he had like multiple DUIs. It was like a total like fame whore kind of guy. He was very nice and supportive of me, but like I could see now, like, because I ended up interning there. So the HR person was like, well, like maybe you could apply for an internship, but we normally reserve those for journalism majors. And I was like, well, I'm not a journalism major, but I did a really good job at your movie premiere. So I basically like convinced them to give me an internship. So once I got to UCLA, I would go every Thursday night. I would drive down to like Sunset and Gower to the KTLA studios. And I would like produce the entertainment segment for the night with the producer. So we would like get all the press releases, and we decide like what events we wanted to cover. And he was like very like much like, go, you just do this, like probably because he didn't want to do it himself, but like so he would like just let me do whatever I want. He's like, what event do you want to cover? I'd be like, that movie premiere or that press junket or like whatever. And I would like get in a news van with a camera guy and like a whatever assistant or whatever, go to these events. And like every Thursday night I was like going around Hollywood like interviewing celebrities and stuff, and it was great. It was so fun.
Jeremiah, wait, like I don't understand how it doesn't just stop there. Like that sounds like a great job. It sounds really you're like Courtney Cox in Scream.
It's really funny because I could have and maybe should have, I don't know, but at the time, this gives you like a little like insight to like my own like neuroses and like, you know, lack of self-confidence probably. But like the on-air nighttime, there's two, the morning reporter and the nighttime reporter. The daytime morning guy was Sam Rubin. I think he's still on that channel.
Sam Rubin's been around forever.
Yes, but I was on at night, and the woman that was doing it at the time was this girl, Mindy Bourbanos. And I remember we were like driving to some event together, and she was asking me, she's like, "Oh, you want to go into journalism? You want to be an entertainment reporter?" And I was like, I don't think I'm good looking enough for that. And she was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Sam fucking Rubin is the morning guy. Like, you don't think you're good enough to be on TV?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't think, probably not." So literally, I didn't think I could do that because I wasn't handsome enough to be on TV. True story.
Jeremiah.
So I just did it as an internship, and then I moved on. I started doing more internships.
But like you had the balls. I guess it's not balls though. When I think about it, don't you think about your 20s and go like, it's not really balls. It's just like you don't know better.
It's like you're naive in a way, and just kind of
like, why can't I just do that?
Yeah, why wouldn't I be able to?
Yeah, can't I just call the network and say, give me a job? Like I used to work on Top Model, and I was a PA season 2, and they were going to Italy. Right, I was a person who literally brought coffee to them, and I had studied in Italy for 4 months, and I thought, there's no way Top Model is going to succeed in Italy if they don't bring me, because I know 7 words of Italian. So I wrote a letter to the showrunner, to the executive producer Ken Mock, and I wrote them a very like boldly stated letter saying why they needed to take me to Italy with them, and I did not go to Italy. I thought there was no like, but it's not boldness. I was just naive. I don't think I did it out of like, I'm this ballsy brave woman. I just like didn't know.
I think better. You hear a lot of entrepreneurs talk about that. They're sort of like naivete and just like not knowing the way the world works, but as like a positive trait. Like, so when they go to like start a business, they're like, of course I would be able to start this business and become successful. Like, why wouldn't I? And if they had known everything that they know now, they would be like, oh, that's the dumbest idea in the world. But like, that's sort of like just ignorant bliss. Like I think it helps you accomplish things because you're just like, yeah, of course. Why couldn't I do this? And then you go do it. So,
but then your neuroses kick in.
Yeah, I'm not sexy enough to be
hosting the morning show.
Yeah, I'm not sexy enough for KTLA.
I don't know. I think it's worked out. I'm not saying it hasn't worked out.
And honestly, I think I'm much happier. I think in like, you know, television, like reality TV or like narrative television or whatever you want to call it. I think I don't think I would have been happy in news.
Wait, what did you major in UCLA?
I ended up majoring in English, just like English literature. But in conjunction with the internships, in order to get credit, you have to take this course through the communications department. And it's honestly, I think this podcast is like based off of that course that I took in college. Because all it was is every Tuesday night, you'd meet in this like lecture hall, and there would be a different person from the entertainment industry that would just come and tell their story of how they got in the business. They'd talk about their job and what they do, and they would take questions. And it was like all sorts of people, from like network executives to music industry people to, journalists to like it was like across the gamut. And I just loved that class. And that opened my eyes to internships. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
So then I just started like getting internships. So I did like 4 internships.
Talk to me about internships. Which ones you did? So you did KTLA. And first of all, I think that's awesome. I would love to go to, that's my like act 3. I want to be a college professor.
Yeah, totally.
But I think that's amazing that I never took any like media class. I was a communications major, but I never took any like film or TV classes. And I wish that was offered I went to Davis, because just knowing all the different things to do in this business, it's like insane.
It's so helpful, because you don't know unless someone tells you, or you like look at
there was a producer,
I don't know,
a producer, a director, and an actor.
Right.
The
exactly.
End. Like
yeah. Exactly. So after KTLA, I interned at Comedy Central, and that was another one where I just was like, where would I want to intern? And I was like, well, I like watching Comedy Central. So I just like went online and somehow got a number for like their front like receptionist, and just called and was like, hi, I want to intern at Comedy Central, please. And they're like, okay. And they like, but like there was a girl there that like ran an internship program. So they transferred me to her, and I ended up doing that. And then I interned for a film producer. Her name is, oh God, I'm going to blank on this. Lauren, starts with a Z. She produced like Pretty Woman.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
And the Spider-Man reboot.
Okay.
With the first one with Toby
Maguire.
Maguire. I'm so sorry that I'm forgetting her name. It's like Lauren Zelaznik or Lauren Zemeckis or Lauren, something like that. I'll put it in the show notes of the episode if people are interested at all. But yeah, just so I worked there for a few months. And then I ended up getting an internship at UTA, United Talent Agency. They do like summer interns. Someone referred me into that. So then I got my last summer, I took classes through the summer to like finish my degree, but I was like pushing the mail cart at UTA 3 days a week and going to class 2 days a week. And then when I graduated, they just took me on like full time in the mailroom. I did a quick 2-week stint as a women's shoe salesman at Nordstrom's at the Westside Pavilion. But I realized that was
not your career path.
No, not my career path. So I started at the talent agency.
Nothing like shoe salesman. That is a tough job. But Jeremiah, you could probably sell ice to an Eskimo. So I'm sure you were. No,
I mean, maybe now, but like back then I didn't know the first thing about women's shoes. For some reason I had this whole plan that I was going to like save up money and then go traveling for a year. So I was like, I don't want to start my career yet. And for some reason, I thought that women's shoe salesmen at Nordstrom made like just like boatloads of money. Someone told me that. And so I started there. And like, I remember one day I just like didn't sell any shoes and like work like purely on commission. So I just like didn't make money that day. And I was like, fuck this.
Yeah.
I called the talent agency. Like, I'm coming back.
They were like, you're welcome.
Like, yeah, exactly.
So you worked for a news station, a film producer, an agent, and a television buyer station.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of experience. What did you learn? Like, what did all of that experience teach you, like, going into your career? Like,
I think it prepared me just because I got experience, like, answering phones and copying scripts and just, like, being in an office environment, I also, like, made relationships that, like, paid off down the road. Like the way I got into reality TV ultimately was the girl that hired me as an intern at Comedy Central we stayed in touch, and she hired me to do development with her at a reality production company. So it's just like, it's just being in an office, just like learning how to like interact with people and like in like an office setting, the pace and the etiquette and all that stuff. I just think it's so helpful, and you just kind of see how things are happening, you know, and that when you go to get your first job, I just think you have a leg up on someone that's like just coming out of college and maybe like has only, you know, waited tables or worked at like the chemistry lab or whatever college job they had. So
did it also help you, like you went back to UTA? Did you know, like, was that ever a thought where you're going to go into being an agent?
Yeah, for a while, yeah. So I ended up working at UTA for 2 years, and I was an assistant at two agents. One was a TV talent agent named Ruth Ann Secunda, and then the other was a feature talent agent named Shani Rosenzweig. And they were both amazing and like just brilliant people. I'm a big fan of agents. I think they're like some of the smartest, most hardworking people in the industry. I think they get a bad rap, and they can be dicks, but my experience there was good. And it's like, you know, the agency route for people that are starting out, I think there's like nothing better, because you just it's like going to get like it's like graduate school for entertainment industry, because you just see that everything comes through these agencies. Like you get to read scripts, you're listening on phone calls, you're doing casting submissions, you're, you know, reading the trades every day, and it's just a great crash course in like the industry. So I thought I wanted to be an agent, but then I just saw I just saw the way that the agents, I mean, it's a total lifestyle, right? They work, you know, 8 to 8, and then they go out to drinks, and then they go home and they read a bunch of scripts, and they get up and do it the next day. And it's like that for a long time. And like, you know, the upper echelon of agents, like the partners and the board members and stuff, I mean, they make a ton of money. And I think they can like slow down the pace when they get like the younger agents working under them. But that like journey to that is a long, very difficult road. And like, that is very cutthroat. Like talk about news being cutthroat. Like the agency world is so competitive.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I feel like, thank God for agents, because they represent the people making content, and they make content happen, and making sure people have like fair deals and all that. Like agents are what make Hollywood work. But knowing you and seeing you work, I like, you're nice, which a lot of producers aren't nice either. But I guess I just could never see you go down that road as like just being, it is very, and I don't want to ever badmouth agencies, but it is saying it's a lifestyle is so true. And our jobs are lifestyles, like as a producer, but I don't feel like we have to oversell, or we're not salesmen really.
Right.
I mean, are we?
I don't think so. I mean, everyone has to sell someone at some point in their job, whether you're pitching an idea or pitching a show to a network or pitching a cast member to like go do this scene that they don't want to do. But like, no, I don't think we are salesmen.
It just feels like a very exhausting, like always on.
Always on, high pace, like just like
let me
frantic.
take you to drinks, and let me, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I could have done it and would have been good, but I decided after 2 years that it wasn't for me.
2 years.
Yeah. And
so how did you get out?
I just quit. I wanted to do that travel year.
Okay.
And so I was living in this like apartment in Culver City with like 7 other guys. Like shared this like townhouse. My rent was really low. It was like $350 a month. And so I was able to save up money, even though I was only making like $10 an hour or whatever. So I saved, once I had enough money saved up, I just went and gave my notice, and then I took off, and I took a whole year, and I traveled through Central America and Mexico, and like took Spanish. And
you guys, Jeremiah is fluent in Spanish. I've seen him use it.
That's right, in Puerto Vallarta.
And it was like unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was, I don't want to say sexy because you're my coworker, but yeah, it was
It's
awesome.
weird because I'm very white and I look like a total gringo and like you'd never expect it. But I speak fluent Spanish.
White and ginger-ish. Not really. Yeah, a little bit. But yes, fluent Spanish, and it's awesome. And that probably, does that ever come in handy for you?
Totally, yeah.
I mean, it did for us.
Yeah, if we go on like work trips to Mexico or something, like I can help arrange like dune buggy tours through the jungle or whatever.
Yeah, that's good.
But then, also just here in LA, I mean, there's a ton of people here that speak Spanish, so it's nice to be able to like communicate with people. But
So then you come back from your year, and you like, was that year to like figure out what you want to do with life, or?
I think I knew I wanted to come back to entertainment. I just wanted to have a year. Like I never studied abroad through school. I did take like a quarter off and went through India for 2 months, but like I was very restless as a young guy. I just like I wanted to get out there and see the world, and I was never satisfied with anything, and I wanted to travel and I wanted to learn Spanish. That was kind of like my goal. And so I just did that. And then I did it for, a year, like maybe a year and a couple months. And then I started like, I didn't have any money left and I was like getting a little bored and whatever. And so I came back and I just started calling people and sending emails, and I ended up getting a job as an assistant at ABC Studios in the development department there. So I worked for two executives. One was a drama executive and one was a comedy executive.
Okay.
And the comedy executive is this guy, Patrick Maguire, who I actually just ran into at Mammoth randomly.
Really?
Now. But he runs drama for ABC now. Yeah. That's crazy.
That's awesome.
The other guy is still in the business too. I think he works at Netflix.
And so you went from ABC to walk me through, like, how did you end up in reality TV? Because that is a big, like...
Yeah.
I don't think anybody starts... Well, maybe now. I don't know. Back when you and I started, I don't think anybody started being like, I'm going to be in reality TV. But nobody. I guess a lot of people do that now.
Now, totally. Like, I mean, we work with people like Michaela or...
Yeah.
Some of the younger people that you see where they like grew up watching reality. Like reality wasn't a thing until I was like in college.
Yeah.
So it's,
we started at like the boom of reality. Like that was my out. Cause I was also in film and I thought this is like, I was bored in film. I listened to one of your podcasts where you were like, I'm bored in film.
Slow.
Yeah. It's very slow. And I didn't feel like I was going to ever have like a say in the puzzle making process. I was just like a cog in a wheel. So when you like, how did you go to reality? Like, walk me through that.
I was at ABC Studios for like a year, and I didn't love it. Like, it was great working on the Disney lot, and it paid well for an assistant. There's benefits, and everyone was like super nice. But I just felt that it was like too distant from the creative process. As far as what I wanted, because they're the studio executives. So they're like helping the showrunner find writers to staff the show. And then they're, giving notes on scripts, and then they're giving notes on pilots. And then, but they're not like on set every day. They're not in the writer's room. And, and I'm not a writer, so I didn't see like, a real future for myself in that side of things. And then this girl that I interned for Comedy Central just like called me randomly one day and was like, hey, I just got hired to run development at this reality production company, Elemento Productions, and I need a coordinator. She's like, do you want to come work for me there? And I was like, sure. So that's how I got into reality. But I started in development.
So development wasn't your thing, went into reality. And what, like, immediately, what's the difference between like the office job, like looking back on that, and being the coordinator on a reality show? Like,
was a coordinator in development.
Yeah. Okay, so you were in the office.
So I was still in the office at that point, and that was like coming up with show ideas, doing like write-ups for shows.
Did you feel like more a part of the process?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yeah, because I was, it was a small team. It was like me and this VP. And we were responsible for, trying to develop new business for this company. And so, we were just always taking meetings, taking pitches from like, producers, trying to find talent. Like, we'd identify a space we wanted to be in. And, like, we'd start making phone calls and like reaching out to people, trying to put together like cast or host or whatever it was. And I liked it at first, and it was really exciting. But then that also kind of like wore me down. I was like, this doesn't feel exactly right either, because, you know, in development, like 99.9% of your work just never goes anywhere.
Yeah.
Nothing happens to it.
Feels very defeating.
Yeah. And some people thrive in that. I think they just like always want to be like on to the next, and they're just like happy to like keep cranking out like new ideas and stuff. But I just like, I like to like put my nose to the grindstone and like make things. Like I just like, I just wanted to be like, I wanted to have something at the end of the day that I could point to and be like, I did that. Or at least I'm one of the many people that did that, you know? So I saw these producers coming through the building that were, you know, working on the shows that were in production and the shows that were sold and stuff. And so I was like, what do those people do? And so I started like taking them out to lunch and talking to them. And that's when I was like, I want to be a producer. And I nagged the EIC there, like the head of production, for like a year. I was just like, can I please go on to one of the shows? Can I please go on to one of the shows? And he's like, I'll find something for you. And then finally, after like a year, he put me on to one of their shows. And I did 2 shows at LMNO as a, you know, like an associate producer, second producer, or whatever. I did this show. The very first one was a show called Fabulous Cakes.
Oh, wow.
On TLC.
Oh, wow.
And it was just like, you know, it was just like.
Oh, yeah. The cake shows are big hits.
Yeah.
So not the greatest to make, though, as a person. You and I are the same about that, where you're just like.
Yeah, the food stuff. You're like, all right, yeah, here we go.
But people love watching food
I know.
shows.
But I did, yeah, Fabulous Cakes. And I was a segment producer on that. And I was just like, you know, trying to find cake bakeries and then like kind of lining up the stuff before the crew would go out and shoot it. And then I was an associate producer on this CBS show called I Get That a Lot, which was a hidden camera show where this celebrity would like work in like an everyday job. So like, you know, Snoop Dogg would be like at like an auto parts store, or, you know, Mario Lopez would be like selling hot dogs on the street in New York, and it was all hidden cameras, and people would come up and be like, aren't you Mario Lopez? And be like, oh yeah, I get that a lot.
And that was the show.
That was the show.
And so, then they like reveal themselves.
Yeah, ultimately they reveal themselves. But I mean, it went, you know, they did like a few cycles of it. It was hard to cast because they wanted, you know, they had like a bar for what level of celebrity they wanted. So I did that, and then they were like, congratulations, you got what you wanted. You are a freelance producer, and we don't have any work for you. So good luck.
You're out.
Yeah, and that's where it all started.
And then I think that's like the toughest thing for people. I know my parents and my sister, all my sisters are teachers and have like regular jobs, but to understand the life of a freelancer, how terrifying it is, and how it really is a risky business. What's your advice to people who like, there you are, like Jeremiah, how old? 25 at this time? 20.
Yeah, maybe a little 20s. Older, 26, 27.
You've experimented. You've seen what you like, what you don't like. You're about to embark in this freelance world. Like, why do it? Like, why leave the comfort of a job with benefits and like great hours and all that you had at ABC and go into this freelance world? Why do it?
Well, first of all, if you want to work in entertainment, that's like the majority of the jobs are freelance. So, you know, writers are freelance, actors, producers, director. I mean, anyone that's like the actual creatives on the project, for the most part, are freelance, right?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
So if you want to do that job, like that's just like part of that comes with the territory. And then the other thing,
I mean, there are cush jobs in Hollywood. Like there are people who have, I don't say they're cush, but there's like network execs and the people who have like their benefits and all that stuff. But
I was just talking to someone about this because I had someone reach out to me who's an assistant, and I won't say his name or where he works, but he's interested in getting into production, and he's been an assistant for 2 years. And he said my job is very cush, you know, and if I wanted to stay here for like 7 years and get promoted, I probably could, and whatever. But one, that's kind of boring. Like, just, you know, if you have a short attention span and you like excitement, like freelance is, you know, it's fun and it's exciting as much as it is nerve-wracking. But also, like, I think especially at the executive level, I think that like their job security is kind of a myth, because just think about how many executives are getting fired all the time, or getting the departments get restructured, or, you know, a new head of the department gets brought in and they want to bring their people with them. So it's like, I would rather be a freelance producer and have to look for work every 3, 6, 9 months, whatever, and just like have that muscle that I have exercised where I know how to find a job, than be like on staff somewhere for 2 or 3 years and then one day just get like called to HR and be like, you're laid off. That person is in a much worse position to try to find their next job than I will be.
You're so right.
You know what I mean?
I've actually never thought about it like that. You are so right.
And plus, our jobs are easy to get. I mean, like, relatively speaking, like, you know, if we're going to meet on a show, it's not like 3 rounds of interviews with like different levels of executives and human resources. And then they make you like do coverage for scripts and pilots, and then conference call with like corporate in New York. And like those jobs can take like 3 to 6 months, just even once they want you, just to get you hired.
Yeah.
Whereas as a freelancer, I mean, how many times have you gotten a call where they're like, we need someone on Monday, can you start?
Absolutely.
And it's like you'll be unemployed and like planning your trip that you're going to take to like spend all the money you have in your savings account left. And then someone will call you and be like, oh shit, I just got a job that lasts for 6 months. So I just think even though we don't have that security, like the security comes in the ability to like
to make it
keep moving,
to keep doing it. But it takes a special kind of person though. Like having that mindset. I don't think like that's a lot of people that have that mindset, like, and especially outside of this business, like trying to explain the freelance life to people outside of this business is very like mind boggling. I feel, even though I think today's day and age, most jobs are becoming
more and more places are doing it. But
like
it's
for hire.
It's scary as shit.
It is.
And I have had like plenty of panic attacks where I didn't know where like my next job was coming. Because especially once you get older, like me, and you have a mortgage and a family and like daycare bills, and like, you know, I have a lot of bills. And so like I need the money that I make to pay all my bills. It can be nerve wracking to think like, God, am I going to not get a paycheck for like 2 months or whatever? But even when that has happened, that's the longest I've gone without work since I started freelancing. Like, I think it's been like a decade. It was 2 months, and I was panicking. Right. But then at the end of it, I was like, oh, I made it through. And like, you figure out a way to work. And then you could also like, if you're good with your money and you can plan for just like budget for like, oh, I'm going to work 10 months out of the year, you know, you get 2 months off and you just plan for it. That's another way to deal with it. I'm not the best at that.
I'm terrible at that. Currently in it right now. But so you freelance, you moved to the freelance world, and how like walk me through how you got to Vanderpump, because I know you came up through Vanderpump, right?
Yeah, that was I'd been doing it for like I think like 3 years. After they cut me loose from LMNO, I was just looking for work, like the first time I'm doing that, you know, as a freelance producer, no resume, like just coming out of development, and just like every person I'd ever worked with, I'm hitting them up, like applying to jobs on, at the time it was called Reality Staff. Now it's called Staff Me Up. Facebook group, just like anything and everything. I would like literally wake up, I'd make a pot of coffee, I'd like sit down at my computer in my pajamas, and I would work and like just try to find a job until like 6 o'clock at night or whatever. And it took about a month, and I found a job on this show called Cupcake Wars. So I was they hired me as an associate producer. It was a show called Mansers on Spike.
Oh my God, I know people who worked on Mansers.
Really?
Writers on it.
Oh yeah, they had a whole writers department.
Yeah.
I got a job as an associate producer on Mansers. It was this goofy show, but it's this production company, super delicious.
Yeah.
And I think that the girl that was running production at the time, I think she just like was like entertained by me. Like she like was like, who's this like loud sort of like very forward, overly social guy? Cause like I don't get like really shy when I go into meetings. And so I'm like, I like ask questions or say things or share personal details about myself that like you probably shouldn't do in an interview. But I think that was the thing that she's like, oh, this guy's funny and has kind of like a personality. So she just kind of took a chance on me. And that ended up being like a year and a half that I was at that company. Cause I went on, did Mansers, and then I did like 3 seasons of Cupcake Wars. I think I did like some development for them. So they were just like kind of keeping me around. And then I got on to Extreme Makeover Home Edition. And I did that that was like a year. And that was like, aside from Vanderpump, that was the best experience of my life.
How do you go from like Cupcake Wars to Extreme? Is it like how did you get there? It's a different company.
Yeah.
Right?
So that one was, that's Endemol.
Endemol. And is it because it's like a build show? Like, how did you sell yourself from like a food show to working on?
I think, again, it was just like a personality. I think that like, because I think that honestly came from Staff Me Up.
Okay.
I think they just got my resume and they're like, they were looking for a segment producer. I do know how I got that job, actually. So the job that I had on that show, to start at least, it turned into a much different job. But they had this thing called the War Room. And the War Room was, we had a conference room and we were like advanced producing the episodes for like the creatively. There's a whole separate department that was advancing like the building and like locations and permits with the government and all that stuff. But we would get the families, so that it would go from casting, who would find the families, and then casting would hand it over to us, the War Room, and then we would come up with all the like, how are we going to demo their house? Where are we going to send them on vacation? What are they're all the format elements? Like, what are the check-ins? Like, what are the the little like bits and gags we're going to do like on the construction site? And so we would come up with this like Bible basically for the family, and we're working with like the EP and stuff, and then he would like approve the creative, like decide what he wanted to shoot, and then we would like segment produce it, like advanced produce it. So we would like do vacation trade outs, and we would, if we wanted to, like one example, like we did this Thanksgiving episode in Knoxville, Tennessee, and we wanted to do a Thanksgiving parade, and we shot it in like April or May or something like that. So like my job, I was like, I had to produce a Thanksgiving parade across the University of Tennessee in April, and it was like, you just find, so I'm like on the phone trying to find people that own parade balloons and like getting them to come down. I had to find helium, and that show they do as much as they can based off donations, because it's all about like helping these families that are struggling or whatever. So like got like a bunch of volunteers to come and like walk the balloons and like whatever. So it was like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the reason they hired me, I think, is because I had development experience. So they were looking for someone that could just like generate ideas and crank out ideas, and I think I sold them on that element of me.
Yeah,
just like ideas all the time, like whatever.
And you do, Jeremiah. You are an idea cranker. So quick at times on Vanderpump, where I'm like, shit, like why didn't I think of that?
Well, thank you.
Okay, so Extreme Home Makeover.
Extreme Home Makeover. I went back and did another season of Cupcake Wars, and at that point, I was like, I had worked in like a real professional, not to say they're not professional, but I'd worked on this like big network show that had like a ton of money, and everyone was like very nice. And I went back to this like smaller production company where it's like a little more like, they're like throwing it together like last minute. Everyone's like running around crazy.
Oh, I worked for Super Delicious.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot. And the hours on that Cupcake War show were fucking awful. Like I would get there at 5:30 in the morning to greet the contestants. And then shooting would start at like 7, and then we'd shoot 7 to 7:30 after, you get your 12 hours of like a 30-minute crew meal. And then we would have to stay to like wrap the contestants out. So we wouldn't leave the stage usually until like 11 o'clock at night or something. So, and then we would like wake up and do it again. So I was working like 5:30 to 11, driving home, sleeping for like 5 hours, 4 hours, and then like waking up and going again. I was like, this fucking sucks.
Isn't that weird though too? I also think people don't understand like how much time gets put into these shows. Like you would think a show like Cupcake Wars would not be a show that takes 17 hours of your day to make.
Right. Well, it's because they're doing it on like such a low budget that they're cramming it into like one shoot day.
Yeah.
They'd shoot a whole episode in one day. But yeah, it's funny, like, I've worked on a handful of network shows, And this might just be like the luck of the job that I've gotten, but the network shows that I've worked on have been like way less stressful than a lot of the like smaller cable shows. And, I think it's just, maybe it's just a little more of a sort of professional environment. There's everyone, there's more people on staff because the shows have bigger budgets. So people aren't expected to do like quite as much. Like Extreme Makeover was like amazing. Like that show, I loved working on that show. Everyone was so nice and stuff.
So money is key.
Yes. yeah. Spending money on shows. No, I don't know. Just finding the right people, probably. I think it's a leadership thing too. Like you get a good showrunner that has like a good, good mentality and wants to like empower people to do their jobs as opposed to like micromanaging them and doesn't have like a short temper. That makes all the difference in the world too. So yeah. So Extreme Makeover. And then I went to Border Wars. People are going to get so bored during this episode hearing all my different shows.
No, I mean we could fast forward.
We're almost there.
Okay, let's go to
Border Wars.
Border Wars is where your wife almost left you.
Yeah. She was. I am exaggerating when I tell the story, but she did. As soon as she picked me up from the airport, she was like, "If you want this to work, you need to figure something else out." So,
Border Wars, was it like dangerous? Were you?
Yeah. We were supposed to wear bulletproof vests all day, but they're like hot and bulky, so we didn't. And you're running around like it's in McAllen, Texas.
No.
But literally people are coming across the border in rafts. People are like running through the desert. We're chasing them. Like we were like busting like drug mules, like with just like 100-pound bales of marijuana on their backs, and you'd like be sneaking up on them with the Border Patrol, shooting like on these little cameras in like infrared, and then like as soon as they catch them, we'd flip the lights on and like start running through the jungle with them and stuff. Yeah, it was crazy. It was intense.
What network?
It's on Nat Geo.
Is it still on? It sounds like it could be a very current television show. I
don't think they're doing it. Although I did just see a billboard for a Discovery show that they're calling Border Live. So I'm imagining it's like Live PD on, what is that, on True?
Yeah. Is it True or A&E?
A&E, yeah. But Live PD, but with Border Patrol. I'm guessing.
How'd you get onto that? Like you were a producer on that?
Yeah. That was the same showrunner from Extreme Makeover Home Edition actually did that one. So he just brought me along.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You have run like the gamut in all like different types of content, from like cupcakes to.
I know, right? And we haven't even gotten into my post experience.
Oh
that's
my
a
God.
whole other portion of my career.
I love it. But how important is that post experience?
Oh my God. That's like the number one piece of advice I give to anyone that wants to be in reality. I'm like, learn Avid Media Composer.
100%. Like you will get a job if you are slightly competent in Avid.
Yeah.
And a person with any sort of social skills and storytelling skills, you will get a job if you know Avid.
Totally. And you are I think you are similar to me in this way, that you can transition seamlessly through the field and post.
Yes, absolutely.
Because you know Avid. And like the story producer, story editor job, I mean, that is like the most prevalent job in reality. There are more story producers and story editors working on every show than there are any other position.
Absolutely.
So that's like, if just playing the numbers game, you want to keep working and stay employed, I mean, story producer is, I mean, it's a great one.
It's great. And you can go in the field and you can go into post, and like you get to write the stories that make the show. Like you and the editor are the first on the line telling what's going to be on TV. I mean, it goes through several notes processes and stuff, but like you are the person writing the story. Essentially, you're the writer.
Yeah.
It's an awesome job.
How did you learn Avid?
I lied. I did. I think I did a show for NBC called America's Toughest Jobs, and I lied and said I knew Avid, and then I hung out with this editor, Pern. I just bugged him every day to teach me, and he did. And I still am not great on Avid, but
you don't have to be.
You don't
need
have
to
to be
just competent.
You just have to know,
do like rough edits and stuff.
Exactly. And I mean, I work with people like you who are annoying and like can cut a show. You should be an editor.
I actually worked as an editor too.
But I always tell people, my advice is like, editors are getting paid a lot of money to edit the show, so let them be the editor and you just like lay out the story for them. And for people who don't know what that means, like in Avid, it's a timeline of media. And what we do is like we cut the audio. I cut for audio. So I'm making sure everything I want to hear is on that show. And then the editor makes it pretty with picture and all that stuff.
Gets it down to time, adds music and transitions and everything.
And then it goes through like several thousand notes processes.
Yeah. Especially at Bravo.
Process. Oh, yeah.
So
back to you.
Yeah. I feel awkward talking so much about myself.
I love it, Jeremiah. I'm learning so much about you.
So while I was in Texas on Border Wars, I got an interview for a new Bravo show that was a spinoff of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. My resume came across the showrunner Bill's desk through like several, I think 3 different ways or 2 different ways. Like the production manager that first season was a production manager that had worked on Extreme Makeover Home Edition. So I think he had referred me. And then a friend of mine went to the same high school as Bill.
Oh my gosh, I want to interview that friend.
Yeah, and so, not at the same time. They're like alumni.
I
think Bill might be a few years older than him. But so I think they had met or like just spoken on the phone, and somehow my name came up, and so he heard my name there, and so he reached out to me for an interview. But I was in Texas, so we only Skyped. I never met Bill before I started working on the show.
You had a Skype conversation with Bill Langworthy.
I had a Skype interview with Bill, and like I still to this day, I'm like, why the hell did he want to hire me for this show? Because I'm like, you hear my resume now. I'm like Cupcakes
all over,
and Extreme Makeover and Border Wars. Like, what part of that translates to like flashy Bravo docu? Like none of it.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the fuck I was doing when I started that show. I had zero clue. I remember asking
And wait,
Bill,
what position was he interviewing you
field
for?
producer.
Oh my gosh.
Like running a crew.
Wow.
And I mean, I think, I don't know, he has since said that he just saw something in me, like he kind of via Skype, which is weird, but like that he just saw that I was like a smart guy that was going to get it or whatever. But like there must have been like many more qualified people interviewing for that job than me at that point in my career.
I think that Bill, though, knowing Bill myself, he recognizes I think that's part of the whole job. It's not always the resume. It's the person and taking a chance on the person. Like maybe your resume doesn't exactly fit the bill, but like I imagine you translate on Skype as you do in person as like you're going to say how you feel and what you want, and you're running a show about people crossing the border. So he's probably thinking if he can manage that, like
yeah.
Waiters at a restaurant, he'll probably get.
Who knows? And I turned it down at
you
first.
You turned Vanderpump down?
I haven't told you this before?
No.
Yeah, so they offered me the job, and it was like really low money. Like they like lowballed me so because I think my rate wasn't that high at that point, and they offered it to me, and my wife was pregnant with my first child at that time, and so I was like going back and forth about it, and I emailed Bill. I think I should try to find that email actually. And I was like, thank you so much for the opportunity. I don't know that this is right for me. My wife is pregnant. I'm going to need time off for like our like Lamaze classes. And, like when the baby's born, it's all going to be right in the middle of production. And like, I kind of wrote it off. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm not like the trashy Bravo reality guy. I'm like the like highbrow, like Cupcake, Extreme Makeover.
But
like,
I also do docuseries about Border Patrol.
Yeah, but that was like Nat Geo's.
Yeah,
like, it has like this
awesome.
pedigree or whatever.
Of course.
And so I turned it down. And to Bill's credit, and still again to go back to like, why would he at that point double down? And like not be and just be like, oh well, that guy didn't work out. On to the next more qualified candidate. He called me and was like, he convinced me to take the job. Like they offered me a little more money, and he was like, look, man, I really think that we have a special cast here. I think that this
was it the first season?
Yeah, the very beginning. It hadn't been on TV. All they had was the development and the pilot that they'd shot. A non-airing pilot. It was like a casting tape. And he convinced me to take it, and like thank God he did. Like where would I be now if I feel like I owe so much of my life and growth to this show, and to ultimately to Bill. Yeah.
Okay, so you're a field producer on Vanderpump. A field producer, just explain what a field producer really, like what that does.
Yeah, so
what you
field
do.
producer, you're going out with the crew every day. You're you're running the crew basically on Vanderpump. I mean, I know there's different shows that are structured differently, but on Vanderpump, you are running the crew. So you get your sort of, instructions or marching orders, or you get your, we don't have scripts, but we have an idea of what we want to shoot each day, what we think the topics of conversation are going to be. If we know we want someone to, admit something or ask this awkward question, you're going to know that in advance. And then it's your job to go out and like set up the scene with the, work with the camera operators for like where it's going to look the best. If they need to set up any lights, work with the audio guy to like get the mics on the right people, get the PA to get releases, but from anyone that's going to be on camera, and then kind of like press play and like get the cast in, and you're the one that's like ultimately responsible for bringing home the footage. That's the way I looked at it.
It's 100% it.
It's like if we don't get a moment on camera, if we don't, if they refuse to like cover a certain topic, that's on me. That's my fault. So it's my job to like, I'm responsible for the footage that's coming back from that crew and making sure that footage is as good as it possibly can be and like has the best story in it as it possibly can.
And it's down to, I mean, it's a big job.
It's a huge job.
It's a big job. Now I'm like, Bill was really like rolling.
I know on the first season show.
Yeah, that's a big job. It's a big job also because it's like you're not just dealing with the cast and that alone is a job in and of itself, but you're dealing with a crew and watching on monitors and making sure if something wasn't said, how do you cover the full story? And I think that is such a massive responsibility.
Yeah.
And
you're the team leader, and like so you're setting the tone of that team. It's on our show. It's 7 people, So I've seen it before. I've seen it on this show where if there's someone that just like is not quite right or just has a bad attitude, then that just like sours the crew, or and then that can trickle into the cast, which can affect the content. And so you have to like be managing your crew, keeping everyone together, spirits high, like, managing the cast, making them excited about like doing this weird thing that they do for a living, and then like also monitoring the content. So it's a big job. It's a fun job though. I really like it.
It is a really fun job.
I missed it this last year. I was like so bummed to not be in the field as much.
It is. I think the higher you move up and the more you the more detached you become from the actual process of making the show, like the less I want to move up. I totally agree.
I understand. Yeah.
Because that is the fun part. It is. And I like the mastering part. Like it's a very challenging job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're doing all these things in like loud, crowded bars.
Yeah.
Or like nightclubs where like the
Drunk
management
people
doesn't want you there,
Yeah.
but like they have to have you there because the owners said you could be there or whatever. There's like all these like
Obstacles.
elements and obstacles that are trying to prevent you from bringing home good footage, and you have to like figure out your way to like produce your way through it.
And keep a smile on your face.
Yeah,
and like,
yeah.
You're like the cheerleader almost.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, guys,
totally.
It's not stupid. It's going to be awesome.
Totally.
Let's do it.
Yep. Yeah.
So you started as a field producer. I like can't even imagine what it was like to work on the first season of Vanderpump Rules.
It was crazy. It was me and Sun, your good friend.
I love Sun DeGraff.
We were there was 2 crews. There weren't 3 yet. We didn't have loggers. We didn't have ACs. So it was a 5-person crew.
Very guerrilla style, I imagine.
Yeah. And I mean, we had no idea what we were getting into. Like we just, like the casting tape was great, and we knew that these people were like dynamic and had all these crazy relationships. But you never know. I mean, we've all worked on shows where like the concept is great, the development is great, but then once you try to put it on camera, 5 days a week for 10 weeks or whatever it is, it's not good, or it's not interesting, or like things go wrong. And this was just one of those shows where just everything was going right. Everything was happening in front of the cameras. The cast was just blazing through these stories that just like, we couldn't believe what we were capturing. We would come home almost every night from the field and we would like drink beers and watch our footage and just like couldn't believe it. Like, this is amazing. And
how? Like how? Like where? Like what is the? How do you credit that? Like what is it? Is it or is it there? No. Like what's the secret to secret?
The biggest. I mean, I think the biggest thing is the cast. Like that cast was just lightning in a bottle. They are a special cast. And still to this day, they are a special group of people that are just like made for this. Like they're doing what they're meant to do in life, like sharing their stories with the world. And then I think that another big part of it, because even with a good cast, like, you could still like fuck it up in production. I think that Bill's mentality and Bill's strategy of just like unflinching, uncompromising, just brutal honesty, and just like we were, never too shy or timid to ask for those like uncomfortable moments, or we would never back down if a cast member was like resisting us on something. We would like just push and push and push, and we would get it. I think that was a big part of it too, because a lot of those early stories, I mean, the cast didn't want to tell,
imagine they
like Kristen and Jack sleeping together, or even like Stassi and Jack, because they want to just like be like, oh no, we're broken up and move on or whatever.
Absolutely. And they want to paint their own story.
They always want to paint their own story,
craft their own image.
We are there to disavow them of that notion and be like, no, we're going to tell the truth today. And that came from Bill, because I had not worked on a show like that, so I didn't know that sort of like system and that way of dealing with people. And so Bill taught us, I think, how to do that, and instructed us to just like always go. You never go for like 80% of the story. You go for 180% of the story. You never, like, if it feels uncomfortable, like that's where you like dig in even deeper and just like keep going there. And yeah, I mean, there's been like hundreds of uncomfortable moments and just like awkward conversations, and just like, it can be hard, and it can be embarrassing, and it can give you anxiety. But like when you watch it on TV, you're never like, oh God, I shouldn't have pushed them for that, or I shouldn't have asked that question. It's always like, oh, thank God we did that, because it's fucking brilliant television.
And I think it's just the opposite. If you don't ask it, you're like, shit.
Yeah, I should have
done that.
I missed something, and that's the worst feeling.
And then you made it to Co-EP this last year?
It was season 6.
Okay, so Co-EP, a Co-EP of Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah.
What are you doing as a Co-EP?
I explain it this way. So my boss is the showrunner. He oversees everything, right? Like everything. I'm the co-EP, so I'm like second in command or whatever. And my main responsibility is the production side of things. There's another co-EP that oversees post, so she oversees the editors and the story department and everything. But then I'm overseeing, the crews, the schedules, the creative, just down to what scenes we're shooting, and then the cast. I mean, the cast is a big part of it.
Yeah.
So this last season, I was mainly based out of the office, which was like so much FOMO going on in my brain every day. But every day we meet and we talk about, what we have coming up, what scenes we're shooting. We're working with the segment department, the talent department, about, what locations do we have cleared? What does the talent have going on in their lives, or what combinations of people do we need to see to like push the story forward? And then I don't make the first draft of the schedule, but they send the first draft of the schedule to me, and then I have to approve every schedule, or more than not go back and like, okay, how can we make this work? Like, we want to do all these things. How can we fit that into a day and, not go into overtime? Or so it becomes this like constant puzzle of trying to like schedule 3 crews and, 10 or 12 cast members in a day to get everything we want. And we want a lot. We shoot a lot, and we ask for a lot. So, and then it's, it's dealing with the cast when, they're, a lot of scenes, they'll show up and sit down and, have their conversations, talk to their friends or whatever. But sometimes there's things that they're just like not happy about or they don't want to do. And the field producers are like the first line of defense for that. But just sometimes sometimes the cast is like,
I've called you Jerry.
Yeah, either the field producer's like calls me like, Jerry, or the cast is like, I need to talk to Jeremiah. So I become kind of like you talk to like someone on like customer service at like your cable company. You're like, can I talk to your supervisor? Like, I'm the supervisor.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the second level of customer service for the cast during production. And then I also do all the interviews. So all the talking head interviews that are cut through the scenes. That's me sitting on a stage in Burbank asking all those questions for a long time.
Okay, so Vanderpump Rules. This is where I want to go. Best part of being a producer on Vanderpump Rules.
The best part. I mean, it's fun. Like, we just have fun. I like that. It's creative. Like, I get to this isn't just Vanderpump Rules. I think this is reality in general, but like, totally on Vanderpump. It's that thing where like every person that works on that show is putting their fingerprints on it in some way. You're not like removed, you're not sitting in an office somewhere where it's shooting happening like thousands of miles away and you're just like sharing opinions after the fact, after it's been shot. It's like, if, the segment producers, they can look and be like, oh my God, I booked that location because I drove down and like convinced that person to let us shoot there. Or the talent producers, they can be like, you know what? That person didn't want to show up to set that day and I like convinced them to go. Or the field producers are like, I asked for this topic of conversation that they weren't going to talk about, and then it ended up being this huge storyline or this big argument. The camera operators are like, they are the storytellers. I mean, they're telling these stories like by what they're deciding to like put in the frame of their camera. I mean, just like, so like everybody is working together in this like very collaborative way where the final product, it is like this big group family effort, and everyone can point to it and say, I did something on that. Right. And that makes me just really proud. And I love like watching the show and just like seeing this thing come together and just imagining all the people that like put their blood, sweat, and tears into it. And I've like thought about this a lot because a lot of people, they like to poo-poo reality as this kind of like lesser than. Yep.
That was going to be my follow-up question.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought about this slide. This might be the first time I try to put this into words, so bear with me. It is, it's not like highbrow entertainment, right? It's not like Game of Thrones or we're not like this hard-hitting political documentary or whatever. It's entertainment. But I really, truly, truly believe, and this is gonna sound out there, maybe, but stay with me for this. I believe that entertainment, be it music, television, or movies, is literally the fabric that binds our culture together. I think that it's what brings people closer in their relationships. I mean, all my friends, I grew up, and the people that I'm still best friends with today, it's because we like the same movies, the same TV shows. We went to the same concerts together. And especially, this is where it gets really crazy. I think that what we do is making the world a better place, in the sense that if we can share culture with people, we can understand each other. So if we can, like, if America is making these movies and TV shows that are being broadcast around the globe to Russia, the Middle East, Africa, if you meet someone while you're traveling and you guys shared the same experience watching a movie together, or you guys are obsessed with the same reality show, whatever it is, you guys are going to have this instant connection, and you can talk about that, you can laugh about it, and that is like making the world a more cohesive, like unified place through entertainment. And I know that sounds like wacky because we make Vanderpump Rules, this like trashy show on Bravo, but it's not just Vanderpump Rules. It's like the mass sum of all entertainment, and we're part of that. I really believe that.
But I also like don't think Vanderpump Rules is trashy TV. And this is someone who said it was trashy TV before I became an Evolution person.
Yeah,
like
you
all
drank
my
the Kool-Aid.
yeah, all my friends watched Vanderpump. Jess worked on it. I had friends working on it, and I would not watch it, and couldn't even like handle the conversation. Son and all of them like catching up on the gossip. I was like, well, it's so stupid, because I watch Law and Order and Game of Thrones, right? Not a big reality fan. And then opportunity came to work at Evolution and with Bill, and I was like, I should try the show out, and I became hooked. And my realization is exactly what you were saying. I used to watch 90210 with my family. It was appointment television, Wednesday night, all of us around the couch, my mom, my stepdad, and it was not also like the greatest television show, but it was our time together as a family, and there were still things in it that you can relate to. Like I don't think Vanderpump is unrelatable in the fact that there's real people struggling to pay bills, dealing with relationships, dealing with friendships, and that they are real friends. So that's what like I come from a family of people who work in film, and I'm often the person who's like, and I work in reality TV, but I'm really proud of it. Like I do think, and it's what people are watching.
Yeah. I remember saying this once because, people write off reality as like, oh, it's just like this dumb reality show. But it takes a lot of really talented, smart, passionate people to make that dumb reality show.
Yeah.
And if you really watch it and you really pay attention, it's not dumb. It's smart people that are putting this together and telling these like very intricate stories.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm a big believer in reality. I mean, in Vanderpump Rules, as cheesy as it sounds, but I think it's great entertainment and it's great stories. And that's all that it's literally the only thing we care about as human beings. We care about like our shelter, our security, food, whatever, and stories. Like we need to be told stories, and we're doing that for people.
And it's fun. We're having fun.
Yeah.
So now like your any advice for people getting into this business, into reality in particular, not just entertainment, as a reality guru, as a passionate person for reality.
Yeah. I mean, watch it, kind of know it. I wouldn't say that's like an absolute prerequisite, but I think it will help you as you're starting out to kind of like, just in rooms, talking to people, having opinions about shows, identifying the types of shows that you want to work on. Interning is my number one advice to anybody, because the intern is the person that's not getting paid, so they're free to make mistakes, they're free to ask questions, they're free to try things out, bang on people's doors and like ask for their time and advice. Once you start earning a paycheck, all those things are like, go do your fucking job, man. Like what?
Get out of here.
You know what I mean? So I just find internships, like come be in LA. I know there's reality shows being made in New York or Atlanta or wherever else, but I mean LA is like it's where most of it's happening. Just reach out to people, like just be willing to like send that email or write that person a Facebook message or pick up the phone and call, because I've said this before, I think on this podcast, that like we're all just people, normal people working these jobs, trying hard. So like anytime you hear from someone that like notices your work, it's a good feeling, for me at least. And,
Absolutely.
We're not famous, we're not celebrities, we're not getting awards and accolades on a daily basis. So if I get an email from someone that's like, hey, I'm a huge fan of this show that you work on, I think it's so intelligent, or like it just like makes me laugh, or it brings me and my girlfriend together because we bond every Monday night drinking wine and talking shit about the cast, like whatever, I'm like, oh, that's nice, and I'll like respond to that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm going to leave it like this as we land the plane. Jeremiah is one of the best producers, and this is kind of the advice I want to give leaving the show as well. It's not, there's no particular like how to do it. It's not, and someone told me this once, it's not what you do, it's how you do it, just who you are. And I don't know if that can be translated over a podcast or it's just being you. And I think that would be my advice. If you like working in TV and you're passionate about it, and you like to talk to people and have fun, just be you. And that's what you do, Jerry. And you're a great leader. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I'll probably edit that out because I'm too ashamed of receiving compliments on the air.
You can't edit it out. It's your interview.
You're very sweet, Lyndsey. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you. Sorry if we rambled, but I had a lot of, I needed to know where you came from.
Now you do.
So let's land the plane, Jerry.
All right. That was Lyndsey Burr interviewing me. And I got to say, talking about myself for so long was like really uncomfortable. I think I'm going to have a newfound sympathy for my guests when they come on the show now. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you are enjoying the podcast. If you are, do me a big favor and go on to iTunes, Spotify, wherever you're listening, and rate it. Leave a review, subscribe. It's really going to help grow the show. If you want to get in touch with me, I'd love to hear from you. You can find me on Instagram. It's Working Class Hollywood. Or shoot me an email. It's show, SHOW, @workingclasshollywood.com. Stay tuned in the upcoming weeks. I've got some more great guests booked for you. See you next time.